fail.
The Superintendent is a second-generation dumb AI of the Superintendent class of AIs, and was responsible for the upkeep and smooth operation of the city of New Mombasa. Superintendent class AIs were likely present in most 26th century cities. However, it is known that the 6 space tether connected cities of Earth most definitely had one of these AIs to oversee the tether's operation. Other duties included, but were not limited to, public safety, utilities, transport and logistics, sanitation, healthcare, security, housing, and likely dozens of other constructs of urban life that have long since been digitised. But there is one such AI which may be harbouring a secret, a task, responsibility or directive much more subversive and calculated than other such AIs were capable of. Hey everyone, welcome back to Installation 00, and with Halo 3 ODST flights now taking place and ODST to be promptly following the trend and being released on MCC for PC, I wanted to take a closer look at some aspects of the lore surrounding our favourite animated green buddy. Also, just a quick reminder that my second channel, Lorecore Multiverse, has just released its most detailed breakdown of the Iron Man Mark III armour. Definitely worth a watch, and I'm really ramping up the content that's being put out there now. I'm aiming on doing 2 videos a week over there, so if you're not already, hop over there and subscribe. So let's take a look at the Superintendent and what secrets he may be harbouring. We first meet the Superintendent on the streets of New Mombasa as the Rookie, after a particularly unexpected and turbulent drop into the city. The AI in question presents himself as a more subtle guiding presence throughout the city, helping the Rookie navigate the darkened streets. Very soon into Rookie's journey, the Superintendent activates a telephone nearby and draws the Rookie's attention to it. Upon the Rookie quote-unquote answering the call, the Super establishes a connection with his ODST armor suite and grants the ODST access to the city's map and other reference material. However, it's in this first encounter that something interesting pops up onto the Rookie's HUD. You'll notice at the top, just below Rookie's health bar, the Super displays information showing that he is online. Second, there is an authorization code, and you'll notice the name for Veronica Dare is there. This is followed by a security protocol simply named ONI Protocol 1A with a password of Virgil. We met Dare aboard the Marathon-class heavy cruiser UNSC Say My Name. It is established at this early point that Dare's association is with naval intelligence, in particular Section 1 of the Office of Naval Intelligence, which deals with information and intelligence gathering, espionage, code breaking, and covering up sensitive information. So the most obvious question is, why did authorization information from an intelligence officer of ONI appear on the HUD interface between a city infrastructure dumb AI and an ODST? Now, some may argue that, well, Dare was with the Hurugok, which integrated with the Super at the end of Halo ODST, and it's an important asset given its insider knowledge of the Covenant. Yeah, you're absolutely right, but Veronica also made this clear.
I spotted this one in the tunnels. Watched it access comm lines, security cameras, traffic controls, you name it. Eventually it holed up here.
She dropped at the same time that the other ODSTs did, and she was stuck in her pod right up until just before Buck arrived on the scene. Considering Buck's character arc starts immediately after drop, the rookie's first awakening is 6 hours after drop, we can surmise she only had around 6 hours to get out of her pod, navigate the city at the height of invasion, observe the engineer, and follow it down to the Super's data center. Also, given that sunset in Mombasa on October 20th is around 12 minutes past 6, that means the drop happened around midday. But you also have to bear in mind that the engineer didn't complete the transfer of the Superintendent into itself until the rookie arrived near dawn, or 6 AM, on the 21st of October. And the engineer had to get there first, and we all know they're not the fastest movers. What I'm ultimately getting at here is that ONI's interest and involvement with this particular engineer was likely not fully established, or its value even fully understood, by the time the rookie and the Super first made contact. That means that the Super had a pre-existing relationship and involvement with the Office of Naval Intelligence. How and why? Well, it may not be immediately obvious to those playing the game, but the Super's data center, basically where his actual processing core matrix and memory banks are located, can be found directly underneath ONI Alpha Site. Alpha Site, if you remember, is located in an isolated and secured compound within Sector 10 of the city of New Mombasa. The central cube-shaped building was placed upon an artificial island within a walled lake, with a single bridge attaching it to the mainland. The main building had a single shaft that stretched deep into the ground, terminating at the Superintendent's data center. First and foremost, that is a very conveniently placed AI data center and ONI site. This intensifies my suspicions that the Super was involved with ONI much more comprehensively than we are led to believe. It's no secret that the Super was frequently used by New Mombasa Police Department to observe people and record conversations and interactions through the various cameras and surveillance devices at the Super's disposal. Why not ONI too? Again, it's no secret that ONI can tap into and monitor any electronic device with a networked connection, and in some cases, without one too. So it's entirely possible that ONI were actually monitoring the masses via the Super's various feeds. Whether the Super was complicit to this or was otherwise unaware has yet to be revealed, but there is one last thing worth noting. The structure seen in the distance is the foundational structure of the Tyrene Translocation Facility, otherwise known as the Portal at Voi or the Arc Portal. Yes, that Arc Portal. You see, officially Alpha Site served as the only headquarters within the East African Protectorate, which is basically a union of many of the modern-day nations of East Africa. However, unofficially, in truth, quite secretly, it was used to aggregate data collected from the Foreigner Artifact site located below it. You have to understand the portal structure is absolutely huge. Appropriately enough, it's 117 kilometers in diameter. If you centered it on Manhattan Island, there wouldn't be a New York anymore. At all. The sheer amount of information that a Forerunner site of this size would contain would need more than a few additional terabytes of storage in the server rooms of ONI's IT department. It requires stacks upon stacks of data storage centers, the very ones that Rookie navigates through to get to Dare and the Super. The fact that the Super is positioned at an intermediate point between the artifact and the databanks within Alpha Site suggests to me that Superintendent is also responsible for contextualizing and cataloging all of the data that passes between the two. This then starts to redefine what was going on in Halo ODST. Sure, at the outset it appears like Dare's mission is to land on Regret's carrier, but one does not simply land on a Covenant CAS class assault carrier. The energy shields alone would be more than strong enough to withstand the impacts of a half-dozen Soev drop pods. They'd smash into the shields and practically wink out of existence, to be fair. There is no feasible way in hell that her mission was to actually board the carrier.
Sir, boarders have breached the fire control center. They have a bomb.
Can you defuse it?
Yes, but I'll need the Chief's help to make contact.
First echelon, you're with me. Blanket
Chief,
those
get
cruisers.
to the bomb,
Take them out
double
one
time.
by one. Second
Cortana,
echelon,
prioritize
keep those
targets
carriers
and fire
busy.
at will.
Registering all hostile vessels in Delta. 13 cruisers and assault carriers. I'm going loud.
Cortana was told to prioritise targets and fire at will during the events of Halo 2. The two carriers in Regret's fleet would have been pretty massive priorities. Even if she wasn't directly targeting Regret's ship to begin with, later she is told this.
The carriers are breaking through, sir. They're heading straight for the Cairo.
Cortana, concentrate your fire on the first carrier. Admiral, do what you can against the second.
She got off at least one shot following this order. Given the sheer energy yield of a Supermac, and the fact that the carrier completely ignored the shot and headed straight for Earth, enforces in my mind that there is no way ONI were aiming on landing Dare and Alpha 9 on the upper hull of that ship. The mission was always something different to that. If a 3000 ferric tungsten slug travelling at 4% the speed of light doesn't even slow down or bother a CAS class assault carrier, why in the hell would half a dozen Soev drop pods have any chance at actually making it to the hull surface? It seems pretty logical that when the ship landed groundside and started establishing an occupational force, the engineers got to work. The one we are particularly interested in, known as Quick to Adjust, found some sensitive systems and likely began probing them out of its own curiosity, and it is this moment that it comes into contact with the Superintendent himself. The interaction between the two prompts the Super to notify ONI that there may be a viable and high-value asset ripe for acquisition. It was also around this time that the Super possibly realised that if the Covenant glass the city, he will die, as he is anchored in place. Since an overwhelming subroutine of the Super's programming is the Virgil subroutine, a powerful and emotionally driven process who was created by Dr. Daniel Endisher with the sole responsibility to look after his daughter Sadie, the Super would have been driven into action. Following the information that a Huragog was being made available for acquisition, ONI mounted a covert mission under the guise of boarding Regret's ship to both protect the truth about the actual mission and avoid revealing the Forerunner artifact below the city to any parties, human or Covenant. This emotional attachment between Virgil and Sadie likely prompted the Super to put into action a plan to assure the survival of, at the very least, the Virgil subroutine, and thus allowed the Huragok access to its data centers in hopes of being able to establish a physical connection and transfer his data streams into the Huragok, thereby avoiding certain death and assuring the continued safety of himself, the engineer, and Sadie. The Super would only have done this if he was absolutely certain that the Huragok would remain loyal to the humans, and once it had been confirmed that the Covenant had located the Forerunner artifact, it was no longer a security concern to keep it a secret. The prime directive at that point was asset retrieval and information gathering directly from the Huragok. It is at this point the Superintendent as we know him was no more. Virgil succeeded in his plan because ultimately he survived well past the excavation of the Ark portal. In fact, there are even records of him still operating with Sadie as his handler with the Office of Naval Intelligence aboard the Infinity upon the arrival of the Created at the end of Halo 5. But the fact remains that the little happy green fella who helped navigate us through the treacherous darkened streets of New Mombasa was all the while involved with the Office of Naval Intelligence and had intimate knowledge of Forerunner relics. The amalgamation of Virgil and Quick to Adjust led to the ultimate biological computer and likely gained insight which ultimately helped humanity win the war. Thanks, Super. Thanks for watching. Stick your comments down below. I look forward to what you have to say. I want to give a quick shout out to my patrons Neek the Silent Cartographer, Brian Sebastian, Red Sea Darian, Stalker of the Realms, Falcon X003, Alvin, Mr. Fell, Flaming Halo and the Revanche that holds the mantle, all of my glorious reclaimers, my most loyal of Metarchs, and all the other patrons that have jumped aboard to support the channel. You guys are awesome and all of this wouldn't be possible without you. If you like Halo lore discussed to insane levels of detail, hit that subscribe button and the little bell icon so you're told the second a new video hits the shelves. Be sure to support us on all major social media channels, including Discord, and if you really love the channel, consider heading over to Patreon and supporting the channel over there. It would mean the world to me and would free up more of my time for me to put into this content and other Halo-related goodness. Take it easy, everyone, and find peace in the domain.